On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 47. The motion is agreed to. The joint resolution is discharged and will be placed on the calendar.
Republicans in the United States Senate are turning against Donald Trump. What you saw right there, the Senate yesterday voting to discharge Senator Tim Kaine's Iran powers war resolution by a 50-47 vote, which was a major rebuke of Donald Trump's war. This is the Senate voting to block Donald Trump from having any more authority to prosecute this war against Iran, this unlawful war. It would still need to be passed in the House, then Donald Trump would still have veto power, but it is a very symbolic move that the Senate is saying that this is an unlawful and unauthorized war. Now, to get this vote passed, 4 Republicans had to work with Democrats. And you had Senator Collins, Senator Murkowski, Senator Paul, and Senator Cassidy. Notably, Senator Cassidy just lost his primary in Louisiana when Donald Trump endorsed his competitor. Donald Trump has been attacking Senator Cassidy, and he has now caused Cassidy to basically lose his job because Cassidy voted to impeach and convict Donald Trump several years back, so Trump holds a grudge for that. And now Cassidy is striking back because Donald Trump attacked him. Also, Cassidy striking back against Donald Trump when it comes to funding of Trump's Golden Ballroom. Cassidy's going to vote to block that. Also, as it relates to Donald Trump putting forward this $1.776 billion slush fund that Trump wants to give to January 6th insurrectionists, unlawfully stealing money from we the people, the taxpayers, in a case that he's settling a lawsuit that he filed against his own IRS and Treasury Department for $10 billion, and he settled for 1.776, but then told the judge there's a settlement that took our taxpayer money and is giving to January 6th insurrectionists. We're seeing Senator Cassidy, but also a lot of other Republicans, we'll talk about this in a moment, trying to block that and saying we don't support this at all. So stay tuned right there. One of the reasons that you're seeing Senate Republicans particularly livid at Donald Trump is that he's been attacking these incumbent senators who Donald Trump feels are insufficiently loyal to him. So yesterday, you may have heard this news we reported here on the Midas Touch Network, Donald Trump endorsed the very corrupt Ken Paxton, Attorney General of Texas, who was impeached but ultimately not convicted in the Texas legislature. And Trump endorsed Paxton over the incumbent, Senator Cornyn. And Cornyn's been pretty loyal to Donald Trump. And he's like, well, I'm highways after you. And anyway, the National Senate Republican Committee endorse Cornyn, the incumbent, and they're putting millions of dollars to help Cornyn, who they view as a conservative guy. And Paxton, the Republicans in the Senate believe will lose to James Tallarico, the Democratic candidate running for Senate in Texas. So Donald Trump announced his endorsement of Paxton yesterday as and the endorsement not of Cornyn. As our editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski says, Trump endorses a serial fraudster and habitual adulterer Ken Paxton for Senate because they have a lot in common. And then you hear Donald Trump go, the highly respected Attorney General of Ken Paxton, an America First patriot, and someone who has always been extremely loyal to me in our amazing MAGA movement, is running for the United States Senate. He's not a patriot. He's not a highly respected attorney general. But anyway, Donald Trump endorses Paxton, and then Senate Republicans were absolutely livid with Trump. As Andrew Desiderio explains just now, Senator Wicker, Republican, remained stone-faced, appeared to be intentional for about 20 seconds as he walked into lunch, and we asked him for his reaction. Senator Murkowski says that Texas is now lost to Democrats, and she expects James Tallarico to win that seat. And as Desiderio also explains, there it is. Trump's endorsement of Paxton over the incumbent Cornyn in Texas is a nightmare scenario for Senate GOP leaders. And this is because lots of tens of millions of dollars has already been spent by the National Senate Republican Committee in order to prop up Cornyn, their incumbent and their current colleague. And then Donald Trump supported Paxton. Paxton announced, "I'm incredibly honored to have Donald Trump's complete and total endorsement." And as Desiderio says, this past 24 hours, it's been one of those days. So in addition to Senator Murkowski's comments that the GOP has now lost that Texas Senate seat. They expect to lose it now to Tallarico. They expect Tallarico to beat Paxton if Paxton wins in the primary. Paxton still has to win the primary, but when Donald Trump picks someone in the primary, that person in the MAGA cult usually is the person that wins. Senator Murkowski of Alaska is also saying now this $1 billion that Donald Trump and MAGA Mike want to give Donald Trump for the ballroom, which they're calling ballroom security. Murkowski says this is not gonna fly. She's waiting until what's called the bird bath, and that is to determine if the Senate parliamentarian will allow certain things in a reconciliation bill to go through. The parliamentarian has previously blocked this funding for Trump's Golden Ballroom, saying it violates the Byrd rule. Also notably, Donald Trump then demanded that Senator Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, fire the parliamentarian, who's a nonpartisan person. And then Thune said, "I'm not firing the parliamentarian, Donald. Go away. We're not firing. We just don't do that in the United States Senate." But now you have Murkowski saying that the $1 billion that they want to have go to this Golden Ballroom should just be going to other law enforcement priorities and not to this ballroom. Senator Cassidy, who lost his primary over the weekend because Trump endorsed Cassidy's competitor, told Igor Bobek the following: "They don't have a bid regarding the ballroom. They don't have a bid. They don't have engineering. They don't have architecture. They just kind of made that number up, $1 billion. So from what I know now, I will not be voting for the ballroom fund." Also, Senate GOP leader John Thune criticized Donald Trump's proposed weaponization fund, the $1.776 billion fund that Trump did by filing a personal lawsuit against the government for $10 billion. It also includes a settlement release that says that Donald Trump can never be audited and that any potential tax crimes or tax violations he committed, he gets full immunity for. Really? Why would you get full immunity? I mean, just think about the level of corruption there. Thune says the following about Trump's $1.8 billion fund. "I'm not a big fan, and I'm not sure exactly how they intend to use it. I don't see a purpose for that." Just go through some facts. So this was Senator Bill Cassidy. Bring out the receipts, taking a jab at Donald Trump about losing the 2020 election in Cassidy's concession speech in the primaries. Let's play this clip.
"I've been able to participate in democracy. And when you participate in democracy, sometimes it doesn't turn out the way you want it to. But you don't pout. You don't whine. You don't claim the election was stolen. You don't find a reason why. You don't manufacture some excuse. You thank the voters for the privilege of representing the state or the country for as long as you've had that privilege. And that's what I'm doing right now."
If you're like me, instead of learning to skateboard, you wish you were learning to write code. Instead of scraping through college, you wish you bought Bitcoin at less than a cent, or secured a few Nvidia shares before they boomed. We might be the FOMO generation, but don't miss out on protecting your future. For around the same price per month as one of your streaming services, you can break our generational cycle and secure your and your family's future by finding life insurance at SelectQuote.com. If you're new to life insurance, you're not alone. Thankfully, I found SelectQuote. For over 40 years, SelectQuote has helped more than 2 million Americans understand their options and get the coverage they need. Over $700 billion in coverage and counting. As a broker, their mission is simple: to find you the right insurance policy at the best price. SelectQuote takes the guesswork out of finding the right life insurance policy. You don't have to sort through dozens of confusing options on your own. Instead, one of their licensed agents will find the right policy at the right price for you, comparing plans from trusted, top-rated insurance companies to find a policy that fits your health, your lifestyle, and your budget. And they work for you for free. You'll be covered faster than you think. SelectQuote works with providers who offer same-day coverage, up to $2 million worth, with no medical exam required. And you're not out of luck if you have pre-existing health conditions, because SelectQuote partners with companies that offer policies for people with conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, or heart disease. SelectQuote makes life insurance simple. Even if this is your first time thinking about it, head to SelectQuote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Life insurance is never cheaper than it is today. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. Life insurance is never cheaper than it is today. Get the right life insurance for you for less and save more than 50% at SelectQuote.com/Midas. Save more than 50% on term life insurance at SelectQuote.com/Midas today to get started. That's SelectQuote.com/Midas.
Then you had Senator Cornyn of Texas. He spoke out after Donald Trump endorsed Ken Paxton, and Cornyn described this as basically by endorsing Paxton, it will be an albatross around the neck of our candidates, and Tallarico is likely going to win. Play this clip.
Well, we've always had these family fights within the Republican Party, and then we unify in order to win the election in November. And we'll do that again. But I believe that in terms of our success in November, that Ken Paxton would be an albatross around the neck of our candidates and would likely lose to James Tallarico. I think we've come too far and worked too hard to risk that.
Then Donald Trump sent out his enforcer. Scott Pressler's the new MAGA enforcer. And they send this guy, he's their hammer right now. And so he's out there mocking Bill Cassidy for losing the primary because Pressler and Trump and the MAGA men were the enforcers and they got Cassidy out. And so watch what Pressler has to say here. Let's play this clip.
Hey everybody, this is Scott Pressler. Breaking news, Senator Bill Cassidy has been defeated today on May 16th. This is a shot peacefully across the bow to our Senate majority leadership. And for him to come in third place shows that the people are not happy with the leadership.
And then while it happened adjacent in the House of Representatives, you had Donald Trump endorse Massey's Congressmember Massey's opponent, because Republican opponent, because Massey helped release the Epstein files, and Donald Trump and the MAGAs are pro-Epstein. They're part of the Epstein class, so they went after Massey. And Massey also had a warning to to Trump and his crew, which is, if you saw what I've been able to accomplish so far in the first 6 months of this year, I still have 7 months I'm going to be a Congress member. So just wait until you see what I do to you guys. Here, play this clip.
And we need basic decency. We need basic decency. That's what the Epstein Files Transparency Act was all about. By the way, today is the 6-month anniversary of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. We've taken out 24 CEOs, an ambassador, a prince, a prime minister, a minister of culture. And that was just 6 months. I got 7 months left in Congress.
Then our Pablo Manriquez, Midas Touch Network DC correspondent, was able to speak to Senator Mike Rounds. And Mike Rounds also said that not a fan of the $1.8 billion fund that Trump's setting up for January 6th insurrectionists. Play this clip.
Any reactions to this $1.7 billion fund from the IRS for January 6th?
We haven't seen the details on it yet, but
Okay.
most certainly would appear to me that Congress will have some say, because there's an appropriation of funds someplace along the line. But Right now, it's a matter of waiting for details from the White House to come out as to what it is.
So you haven't got any documents or anything like that?
I have not.
Yeah. Okay. But this is something that certainly has congressional authority.
Well, we're not talking a million, we're talking a billion. So
right.
In this particular case, even Congress pays attention to that.
More from Senator Thune right here about how personally disappointed he is that Donald Trump is not endorsing Cornyn. Let's play this clip.
Given that you've spent months trying to persuade the president to endorse John Cornyn in the Texas primary, and given that the NRSC has invested heavily to help Cornyn win that primary, how personally disappointed or frustrated are you with the president's decision to endorse Ken Paxton today?
Well, I think you all know my position on this issue. I've made it very clear for months now. And Senator Cornyn is a principled conservative. He is a very effective senator for the state of Texas. But none of us control what the president does. He made his decision about that. That doesn't change the way I feel. I am certainly supportive of, will continue to be supportive of Senator Cornyn and his reelection.
And then finally, as Andrew Desiderio explains, quoting our ASIN over at the Midas Touch Network, ASIN works for us, Desiderio says, this quote that ASIN captured from Vance is being talked about by some GOP senators right now who take issue with the Trump regime attacking Cornyn for not being there for Donald Trump when Cornyn was like the main Republican whip. He whipped up all the votes for Donald Trump during the first 2 years of Trump's first term to get all of those Supreme Court nominees through. And here's what J.D. Vance said. Let's play it.
Good to see you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you. Today we saw the president endorse Ken Paxton over John Cornyn in the Texas Senate race. Do you think that sends a message going forward for the next cycle to senators, considering running for re-election, or any MAGA-aligned potential candidates that are considering challenging them?
Well, I'd say a couple things, Nick. First of all, I think the president's very gratified by the response that he's heard from the base and from a lot of voters. I think who are passionate about Ken Paxton. We think Ken Paxton is going to be a great senator for the people of Texas, but most importantly, a great United States senator who can work on solving the problems that all of us confront as a country together. I've known John Cornyn for a long time, but unfortunately, when it really counted, Ken Paxton was there for the country, was there for the president, and that's why he ultimately earned the president's endorsement. He thinks he's going to be a better senator, thinks he's going to make a better candidate. And so I do think it sends a message, but really not just the endorsement, but one of the things the president has done very effectively, going back 10 years in his leadership of the Republican Party and the country as president of the United States, is he said, I want people who fight for the good. I want people who can't be bought by corporate lobbyists, who can't be bought by Wall Street, who can't be bought by special interests, who are going to go to Washington and fight for the people who actually elected them to those positions. And I think one of the things we've seen in the Republican Party, while I can't say that all of our representatives are perfect or all of our senators are perfect, we have seen a much better crop of talent come into Washington since Donald Trump has been the leader of the party and the leader of the movement. I do think we're going to continue to see that happening. But I think the message that people should take from this is fundamentally, you have got to serve the people who sent you. And if you don't do that, you're going to find yourself out of step with voters or out of step with the president of the United States. And that's not a good place to be politically.
So there you have it, folks. That's what's going on in the House and the Senate right now in Congress. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million, everybody. Thanks for watching.
New Midas merch. Head to store.midastouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.midastouch.com.